These palaces make Dubai look modest, and one family owns them all. While you're stressing about your monthly rent, there's a family in Azerbaijan living in properties so extravagant, so impossibly luxurious, that they make the Sultan of Brunei's palace look like a suburban McMansion. I'm talking about billion-dollar compounds with underground bunkers, floating palaces on the Caspian Sea, and enough gold-plated surfaces to make Midas himself jealous. Listen to this. In a country where the average person makes $4,000 a year, one family has accumulated over $30 billion in wealth. That's more than the GDP of 70 countries combined. They own properties worth more than most nations' entire annual budgets, and they've done it all while remaining completely invisible to the world. What I'm about to show you will completely shatter your understanding of wealth inequality. We're diving deep into the secret empire of Azerbaijan's ruling dynasty, palaces with 180 rooms, private islands built from scratch, and security systems that rival military installations. And here's the kicker. Everything you're about to see is completely legal in their country. This is the world of the untouchables, and today I'm pulling back the curtain on their $30 billion empire. Get ready to see wealth on a scale that will make your head spin. Let me introduce you to the most powerful family you've never heard of, the Aliyevs. While you know names like Bezos, Musk, and Gates, you've probably never heard of Ilham Aliyev, and that's exactly how he likes it. This man has been the president of Azerbaijan since 2003, but here's the thing, he didn't win an election to get there. He inherited the position from his father, Haydar Aliyev, who ruled the country for the previous decade. We're talking about a political dynasty that has controlled an entire nation for over 30 years. But here's what makes this different from your typical royal family. Azerbaijan sits on one of the world's largest oil reserves. We're talking about proven reserves worth over $35 trillion, that's trillion with a T. And for 3 decades, one family has controlled every single drop that comes out of the ground. Think about this for a second. Every time you fill up your gas tank, there's a chance some of that oil flowed through their hands first. Every major oil company in the world, BP, Shell, ExxonMobil, they all have to go through the Aliyevs to do business in Azerbaijan. Since 2000, Azerbaijan has generated over $200 billion in oil revenue. Now, in a normal democracy, that money would go toward infrastructure, education, healthcare for the people. But here's where it gets absolutely insane. While the average Azerbaijani makes $4,000 a year, the Aliyev family's personal wealth is estimated between $15 and $30 billion. Let me put that in perspective. If you made $1 million every single year, it would take you 30,000 years to reach their level of wealth. They've done it in just 3 decades. But here's what separates them from every other wealthy family on earth. They don't just have money, they have absolute power. They control the media, so no negative stories get published. They control the courts, so no lawsuits succeed. They control the military, so no uprisings happen. And most importantly for today's story, they control every single construction permit in the country. That means, when they want to build a billion-dollar palace, there's no zoning committee to approve it, no environmental impact study, no public hearing, no budget oversight. They just build whatever they want, wherever they want, however big they want. And that's exactly what they've done. What you're about to see is the result of unlimited wealth meeting unlimited power, and it's going to blow your mind. Now let's talk about their main residence. And when I say main residence, I mean a compound so massive it literally has its own postal code. Picture this, a 50-acre estate right in the heart of Baku, the capital city. To put that in perspective, that's bigger than Vatican City. But here's the crazy part. This isn't just sitting on some remote hillside. This is prime real estate in the center of a city of 2 million people, and they've turned it into their personal fortress. The perimeter is surrounded by 20-foot concrete walls, topped with razor wire, motion sensors, and thermal imaging cameras. There are guard towers positioned every 100 feet, each manned 24/7 by armed security personnel. We're talking about security measures that would make the Pentagon jealous. But that's just the outside. Let's go inside this beast. The main palace itself spans over 600,000 square feet. I want you to really understand how massive that is. That's 12 times larger than the White House. The US president's residence could fit inside their living room wing, and they'd still have space left over. This palace has 180 rooms. 180. That includes 30 bedrooms, because apparently you need a different bedroom for every day of the month. There are 40 bathrooms, each one larger than most people's entire apartments. And get this, there's a ballroom that can seat 1,000 people. 1,000 people, that's bigger than most wedding venues. But here's where it gets absolutely ridiculous, and I mean ridiculous. Every single surface that can be gold-plated is gold-plated. The door handles, the light switches, the faucets, the picture frames, even the toilet paper holders are made of solid gold. There's an estimated $50 million worth of gold just in the decorative elements alone. Let me give you some specific examples that will make your jaw drop. Their main dining room features a table carved from a single piece of Carrara marble that weighs 8 tons and cost $2 million. Just the table. The chairs around it, each one is worth more than a luxury car. The chandelier hanging above this table is a masterpiece that took 3 years to create. It's made from over 50,000 individual crystals, each one hand-selected by the same designer who decorated the Palace of Versailles. The price tag, $3 million for one chandelier. Their private library contains over 50,000 books, but here's the thing, most of them are rare first editions worth more than most people's houses. There's a Shakespeare First Folio worth $6 million just sitting on the shelf. Now let's talk about their bedroom suite, because this is where it gets really insane. The master bedroom is 5,000 square feet. That's bigger than most people's entire homes. The bed itself is made from Brazilian rosewood and is worth $500,000. The sheets, they're made from silk that costs $10,000 per set, and they get changed daily. Their private bathroom features a bathtub carved from a single piece of onyx that cost $1 million. The shower has 47 different jets and uses water that's been filtered through diamonds. I'm not making this up. They literally filter their shower water through diamonds. But here's my favorite part, their private elevator. This thing is lined with bulletproof glass and can travel between all 12 floors of the palace in just 3 seconds. Why bulletproof glass? Because even inside their own home, surrounded by their own security, they're still not taking any chances. The garage deserves its own mention. It's a 3-story underground facility that houses a collection of vehicles worth more than most small countries' annual budgets. We're talking about a fleet of armored Mercedes Maybach limousines, each one costing $2 million, custom Lamborghinis that were designed exclusively for them, and a helicopter that costs $75,000 per hour just to operate. But wait, there's more. The palace has its own movie theater with 50 seats, each one a custom leather recliner that costs more than a new car. There's a spa with treatments that use gold leaf and rare minerals. There's even a private hospital with equipment that most public hospitals can't afford. And here's the most mind-blowing part. This palace, this incredible display of wealth and luxury, this compound that cost over $1 billion to build, this is just their weekend home. This is where they go to relax. But if you think this is impressive, wait until you see what they built on the Caspian Sea. What I'm about to show you next will make this palace look like a starter home. What I'm about to show you sounds like something straight out of a James Bond movie, but I promise you, every single word of this is 100% real. 30 miles off the coast of Baku, sitting in the middle of the Caspian Sea, is what locals whisper about as the floating palace. But here's the thing, it's not actually floating. They literally built an island, from scratch, in the middle of the sea. Let me explain what I mean by built an island, because this is absolutely insane. They moved 50 million tons of sand and stone from the ocean floor to create this artificial island. To put that in perspective, that's enough material to build the Great Wall of China twice. The construction alone took 8 years and cost an estimated $2 billion. $2 billion just to create the land to build on. The island itself is larger than Monaco. Think about that. They created their own country in the middle of the Caspian Sea, and it's bigger than an actual European nation. But the island is just the foundation. The palace that sits on top of it is where things get truly mind-boggling. This structure rises 12 stories above sea level, but here's the part that's going to blow your mind. It goes 6 stories below the water. That's right, half of this palace is underwater, like some kind of modern-day Atlantis. Let's start with what's happening beneath the waves, because this is where it gets really crazy. The underwater levels include a submarine dock. Yes, you heard that right. They have their own private submarine, and their house has a dock for it. The submarine itself costs $200 million and can stay submerged for up to 30 days. Why do they need a submarine? Your guess is as good as mine, but when you have unlimited money and unlimited paranoia, apparently this is what you build. Next to the submarine dock is an aquarium that would make SeaWorld jealous. We're talking about a 2-million-gallon tank that houses sharks, rays, and exotic fish worth more than most people's retirement funds. But here's the kicker. The viewing area is designed like an underwater restaurant where they can dine while surrounded by marine life. Imagine eating dinner while a great white shark swims over your head. But the most incredible underwater feature? There's a tunnel system that connects this island to the mainland. This tunnel runs for 30 miles underwater and allows them to travel from their floating palace to their Baku fortress without ever being seen. The tunnel is wide enough for vehicles and includes its own air filtration system, lighting, and communication networks. Now let's talk about what's above the water. Because if you thought the underwater part was impressive, wait until you hear this. The above-water portion of the palace features amenities that would make a 7-star hotel look basic. There's a full-size horse racing track where they host private races with horses worth millions of dollars each. The track is surrounded by VIP viewing areas with climate-controlled glass boxes because apparently watching horses run in regular weather isn't exclusive enough. They have their own private zoo featuring exotic animals that most people will never see outside of documentaries. We're talking about white tigers, rare snow leopards, and birds that are literally extinct in the wild. The monthly feeding bill for this zoo is more than most people make in a year. The golf course on this island was designed by the same architect who created Augusta National, home of the Masters tournament. But here's what makes this different. The entire course is elevated on platforms, so it appears to be floating above the water. Playing golf here literally feels like you're walking on water. But the crown jewel of this floating palace is something called the Eden Dome. It's a massive glass structure that can be opened to the sky, housing a complete tropical rainforest ecosystem. Inside this dome, they've recreated the Amazon rainforest in the middle of the Caspian Sea. There are waterfalls, rare plants, exotic birds flying freely, and a climate control system that maintains perfect tropical conditions year-round. The cost to maintain this artificial ecosystem, $100,000 per month. That's more than most people make in 2 years, and they spend it every single month just to keep their indoor rainforest alive. The living quarters of the floating palace are equally insane. The master suite spans an entire floor and features 360-degree floor-to-ceiling windows that provide unobstructed views of the Caspian Sea. But these aren't just any windows. They're made from a special type of bulletproof glass that costs $10,000 per square foot. Their private dining room has a table that can seat 100 people, and the floor beneath it is transparent, so you're literally eating dinner while looking down into the depths of the sea. The kitchen is run by a team of 20 chefs who were poached from Michelin-starred restaurants around the world. But here's the part that really gets me. The utility bills for this place. The monthly cost just to keep the lights on, the air conditioning running, and the water systems operating is $200,000. That's more than most people make in 5 years, and they spend it every month just on utilities. The heating system alone costs $50,000 per month to operate. They're literally heating a palace in the middle of a sea, maintaining tropical temperatures in an artificial rainforest, and keeping an underwater facility operational 24/7. Keeping an underwater facility operational 24/7. And here's the most mind-blowing part. They only use this palace about 20 days per year. 20 days, They built a $2 billion island, constructed a palace that costs $200,000 per month just to maintain, and they use it less than 6% of the year. But if you think this floating palace is the pinnacle of their extravagance, I have some news for you. What we've seen so far is just what they're willing to let people know about. What I'm about to reveal next is the part of their empire that they never intended for anyone to discover, their underground world that makes everything we've seen so far look like child's play. Now here's where things get really dark, and honestly, a little terrifying. What I'm about to tell you is based on intelligence reports, satellite imagery analysis, and testimonies from construction workers who've since disappeared. Beneath the city of Baku, there's an entire underground network that makes the New York subway system look like a child's toy train set. We're talking about a shadow city that most Azerbaijanis don't even know exists, built with their own oil money while they struggle to afford basic necessities. Intelligence satellites have detected massive excavation projects that began in 2005 and continued for over a decade. The amount of earth moved during these projects suggests tunnel systems spanning over 200 miles beneath the capital city. To put that in perspective, that's longer than the entire London Underground, all built in complete secrecy. But these aren't just tunnels, they're fully functional underground highways connecting multiple Aliyev properties throughout the country. Sources suggest there are at least 7 major bunker complexes, each one designed to sustain hundreds of people for years without any contact with the surface world. Let me describe what we believe is inside the main bunker complex, because this is where it gets absolutely insane. The primary bunker, located beneath their Baku fortress, is reportedly a 15-level underground facility that goes down 300 feet into the earth. This isn't just a basement. This is a complete underground city designed to survive anything from nuclear war to popular uprising. Level 1 through 3 are living quarters that make 5-star hotels look like homeless shelters. We're talking about underground suites with artificial windows that display real-time footage from cameras around the world. They can literally wake up underground and choose to have a view of the Swiss Alps, the Maldives, or Central Park, all displayed on massive OLED screens. Levels 4 through 7 house what can only be described as an underground resort. There's a fully operational spa, a movie theater, a library, and even a replica of their favorite restaurants from around the world. The kitchen is stocked with enough food to last 100 people for 5 years. And that food isn't military rations. We're talking about Wagyu beef, caviar, and vintage wines worth millions of dollars. But here's where it gets really crazy. Levels 8 through 10 contain their own power plant, water treatment facility, and air filtration system. This bunker is completely self-sufficient and could operate independently for decades. The power plant alone cost more than most countries spend on their entire energy infrastructure. Levels 11 through 13 are reportedly command and control centers with communication equipment that can reach anywhere in the world. They can literally run their government from underground, staying in contact with their international assets while remaining completely hidden from their own people. But the most shocking part? Levels 14 and 15 are rumored to contain something that will blow your mind, a private underground railway system. This railway connects directly to Baku's international airport, allowing them to travel from their bedroom to a private jet without ever seeing daylight. The train can reach speeds of 200 miles per hour and covers the 30-mile distance in less than 10 minutes. But the airport connection is just the beginning. Intelligence reports suggest this underground railway extends far beyond Azerbaijan's borders. Here's where it gets absolutely mind-blowing. There are credible reports of tunnel construction projects connecting Azerbaijan to Turkey, and from there, potentially to Europe. We're talking about an underground escape route that could allow them to travel from Baku to Switzerland without ever appearing on any transportation manifest. And speaking of Switzerland, let's talk about their international bunker network, because what they've built in Azerbaijan is apparently just the headquarters of a global underground empire. Swiss banking records leaked in 2019 revealed that shell companies connected to the Aliyev family own underground vault facilities in at least 5 different countries. These aren't just bank safety deposit boxes. These are private underground complexes designed to house everything from gold reserves to priceless artwork. The main Swiss facility, located beneath the Alps, reportedly contains over $2 billion in physical gold, rare gemstones, and artwork stolen from museums around the world. The facility is accessed through a private funicular railway that starts inside an innocent-looking chalet and descends 500 feet into the mountain. But here's the part that should terrify you. These bunkers aren't just for storing wealth. They're designed as permanent residences. Each one contains living quarters, food supplies, and communication equipment that would allow the family to disappear completely and live underground for years. The London facility, hidden beneath what appears to be a normal office building, contains replicas of their most valuable possessions. If they ever need to flee Azerbaijan quickly, they can live the exact same lifestyle in any of these underground locations. But the most sophisticated facility is reportedly in Dubai, built in cooperation with other oil dynasties from the region. This underground complex spans several city blocks and is connected to the Dubai International Airport through a high-speed underground transport system. Now, you might be wondering how we know all this if it's so secret. Well, here's the thing. Construction projects this massive require thousands of workers, and some of them have talked. In 2018, 3 construction engineers who worked on the tunnel projects attempted to sell information to investigative journalists. All 3 died in accidents within a month of making contact with reporters. Their families were relocated and given new identities, but not before one of them revealed some shocking details. According to this source, the underground network includes emergency supply caches positioned every 50 miles along the tunnel routes. These caches contain everything from weapons and ammunition to fake passports, and enough cash to start a new life anywhere in the world. But perhaps the most chilling detail from this source was about the tunnel's defensive capabilities. The entire network is reportedly equipped with systems that can flood sections of tunnels within minutes, eliminating any evidence of their existence while trapping anyone who might be pursuing them. The total cost of this underground empire, conservative estimates put it at over $20 billion. That's more than the annual GDP of many countries, all spent on creating escape routes and hiding places for one family. And here's the most disturbing part. While they've spent $20 billion on underground bunkers and escape routes, Azerbaijan's public infrastructure is falling apart. Roads are crumbling, hospitals lack basic equipment, and schools don't have proper heating. But underground, the Aliyevs have created a luxury survival network that could sustain them through any crisis. This isn't just wealth. This is paranoia, transformed into architecture. This is what happens when unlimited money meets unlimited fear of losing power. But if you think this underground empire is impressive, wait until you see what they've built above ground for everyone to see. Because sometimes, the best way to hide your secrets is to build something so spectacular that nobody thinks to look underneath. Now let's talk about what everyone can see. Because sometimes the best way to hide your underground empire is to build something so spectacular above ground that it blinds people to what's happening beneath their feet. Rising from the heart of Baku like 3 massive flames, frozen in glass and steel, are the flame towers, and guess who owns the penthouse in the tallest one? That's right, our untouchable family has literally put themselves at the top of their country's most iconic landmark. These towers aren't just buildings. They're a statement. They're saying, we own this city, we own this country, and we want everyone to know it. The towers stand 597 feet tall, making them visible from anywhere in Baku, a constant reminder to 2 million people of who's really in charge. But let me tell you about the penthouse that sits at the very top, because this is where architectural achievement meets absolute insanity. The Aliyev penthouse spans the entire top 4 floors of the tallest tower and cost $100 million to build. $100 million for an apartment. To put that in perspective, that's more than the annual budget for education in some US. Every single window in this penthouse is made from bulletproof glass that costs $10,000 per square foot. The windows alone cost more than most people's entire homes. But here's the crazy part. They chose bulletproof glass, not for security, but because it provides better insulation for their climate control system. The penthouse features 360-degree views of Baku and the Caspian Sea, but they've installed a system that can tint any window to complete blackness within seconds. Why? Because sometimes even dictators want privacy while looking down on their subjects. The interior is a masterpiece of excess that would make ancient emperors jealous. The main living room features a ceiling that's actually a massive LED screen displaying real-time footage from satellites so they can literally look up and see any place on Earth. Want to see what's happening in Paris? Look up. Want to check on your Swiss bunker? Look up. But here's my favorite part about this penthouse. They can control the building's LED facade from their living room. That's right, they can turn the entire flame tower into their personal light show whenever they want. Imagine having the power to turn a 600-foot skyscraper into your personal mood lighting. The building's LED system cost $50 million to install and uses enough electricity every month to power a small town. But when you're making billions from oil, apparently that's just the cost of having the world's largest personal nightlight. Now let's talk about what this penthouse has done to the neighborhood around it, because this is where the wealth inequality becomes visible from space. The area around the flame towers has been transformed into what locals call the Golden District, an exclusive enclave where property values start at $10 million for a basic apartment, not a mansion, not a penthouse, a basic apartment. To create this district, they displaced over 5,000 families who had lived in the area for generations. Where did these families go? They were relocated to government housing projects on the outskirts of the city, while their prime real estate was given to oligarchs, foreign diplomats, and members of the ruling family. The cheapest property you can buy in the Golden District today costs more than the average Azerbaijani will make in 500 lifetimes. Let me repeat that. 500 lifetimes of work wouldn't be enough to afford the cheapest apartment in this neighborhood. But it gets worse. The Golden District has its own private security force, its own utilities, and its own rules. Regular Azerbaijanis aren't even allowed to walk through certain streets without special permits. They've literally created a segregated city within a city. The residential buildings in this district feature amenities that most people can't even imagine. Every building has its own helicopter landing pad, because apparently taking the elevator down to street level is too inconvenient for the ultra-wealthy. The apartments come with personal staff quarters because these people can't be bothered to hire help that doesn't live on the premises. We're talking about apartments where the staff quarters are larger than most people's entire homes. But here's what really shows you the scale of this wealth inequality: the monthly maintenance fees for these apartments. The average monthly fee to maintain one of these Golden District apartments is $15,000. That's more than most Azerbaijanis make in 3 years, and it's just the monthly maintenance fee. Let me give you some specific property comparisons that will blow your mind. A 3-bedroom apartment in the Golden District costs $25 million. For comparison, that same $25 million could buy you 5,000 homes in the average Azerbaijani neighborhood. The penthouse in the second flame tower sold for $150 million in 2019. That single sale was worth more than the combined value of every home in 3 entire districts of regular Baku neighborhoods. But the flame towers are just the centerpiece of their visible empire. Let me tell you about the other properties they've built throughout the city. They own an entire city block that's been converted into what they call the Presidential Boulevard, a private street lined with mansions, each one worth more than $50 million. This street has its own private police force, its own ambulance service, and its own fire department. Every mansion on Presidential Boulevard comes with a minimum of 20 rooms, a private movie theater, an indoor swimming pool, and a garage that can house at least 20 vehicles. But here's the kicker: most of these mansions sit empty. They're just investments, expensive toys that cost millions to maintain, but are barely ever used. The total value of properties they own, just in the Golden District, conservative estimates put it at over $2 billion. That's the GDP of some small countries, and it's just their visible real estate portfolio in one neighborhood. But perhaps the most insulting part of this visible empire is what they built right next to it, directly adjacent to the Golden District. You'll find some of Baku's poorest neighborhoods, where families of 6 live in one-room apartments without proper heating or plumbing. These families can literally see the flame towers from their windows. They can watch the LED light shows every night while their own electricity gets cut off for non-payment. They live in the shadow of $100 million penthouses while struggling to afford basic necessities. The property tax on just the Aliyev penthouse is more than the city spends on social services for the entire poor district next door. Think about that. The tax on one apartment could fund healthcare, education, and infrastructure for thousands of families, but instead it goes right back into their pockets. This visible empire serves a purpose beyond just showing off their wealth. It's psychological warfare against their own people. Every day, 2 million Azerbaijanis look up and see those towers, and they're reminded of exactly who has the power and who doesn't. But here's what's truly disturbing. This visible empire, these billion-dollar neighborhoods, these architectural statements of pure wealth, they're all legal. Everything you're seeing is completely within the law because they wrote the laws. And that brings us to the most important question of all. How do they get away with all of this? How does a family accumulate $30 billion in wealth while their people live in poverty and face absolutely no consequences? The answer is going to shock you, because they've created a system of protection so sophisticated that it makes them virtually untouchable. Now you might be wondering, how do they get away with all this? The answer is terrifying. They've created the perfect protection system. In Azerbaijan, it's literally illegal to investigate their wealth. They passed a Presidential Protection Act that makes photographing their properties punishable by 10 years in prison. Everything they own is classified as national security and exempt from all taxation and investigation. But the real genius is how they hide their international wealth. They've spent $500 million creating shell company networks so complex that forensic accountants can't trace them. A company in the British Virgin Islands owns part of a Swiss company that owns part of a Dubai firm that owns part of a London property. It's a financial maze with no exit. That $200 million Picasso in their Swiss chalet? Legally owned by a Luxembourg company controlled by a Cook Islands trust. Good luck tracing that. They control every single media outlet in Azerbaijan. Not most, all of them. Internationally, they've spent $100 million on PR firms to keep their story out of Western media. When investigative journalists get too close, they're hit with legal threats from expensive law firms that most media organizations can't afford to fight. The total cost of this secrecy shield, over $2 billion. And here's the kicker. It's all perfectly legal. This is how you become untouchable in the modern world. So let's put this in perspective one final time. The Aliyev family's total wealth, at least $30 billion, possibly $50 billion. That's more than Warren Buffett, more than entire countries. If you made $1 million every day, it would take you 137 years to reach their level. The difference between them and Bezos or Musk, those guys built companies. The Aliyevs just stole oil money while their people make $4,000 a year. This $30 billion could build 300 hospitals or educate 1 million children for life. Instead, it's sitting in Swiss vaults while Azerbaijanis can't afford healthcare. And here's the terrifying truth. They're not alone. There are dozens of families like this, hoarding trillions while billions live in poverty. The game is rigged. While you work 40 hours a week for rent, they live in billion-dollar palaces built with stolen money. So what can you do? Share this video. Demand transparency. And remember, this isn't natural, it's engineered. If this opened your eyes, smash that like button and subscribe for more content exposing the ultra-wealthy. Because while they live like gods, we're just trying to survive in their kingdom. The question is, what are you going to do with this knowledge?